Welcome to South Harmon. Welcome to South Harmon. Hey, welcome to South Harmon. We glad you here today. Another AMA. Ask me anything. Super chat is cool if you wanna pay to play. Like and subscribe, that's what we really appreciate. Let me introduce you to the tear down king. Mike McNutty, ask your questions, he'll answer anything. ATM, you know Adam put them graphics on the screen. Glad you tapped in now, stay tapped in for the team. Hey, everything is posted. Go follow the socials. South Harmon FF tag us if we get noticed. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Another AMA. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today.
Yeah, buddy, look at that. We're starting on time, so that tells you who's running the stream. This guy, Wednesday night AM. We're here. Adam's in New York, and we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Jim Coventry from Rotorwire. What is up, Jim? How are you doing, buddy? We're starting off great. He fits right in. He fits right in on mute.
Mike muted him and didn't tell him how to get it unmuted.
I got him.
No, I need to be muted every now and again. That's probably the best thing you could have done all night. It's a power move. End of the hour, they're going to be like, man, why didn't you put that mute down for the full 60 minutes? But again, I have a face for radio, so maybe that balances out.
Wow. I love that pull. That's a nice pull, Jim.
Ooh, Sirius XM. You catch Jim on Sirius XM. You got a great voice for radio. Your face is all right, man. You're a good-looking dude. Come on. My wife would leave me in a heartbeat for you, buddy.
Oh, nice.
Because she's tired of my shit.
Yeah, it'll take her 2 hours to be tired of mine, so no problem.
That's probably facts. But she's a teacher, so she puts up with a lot. So she's probably got a real long fuse, except for when she gets home.
The youth of America are in good hands, you know?
Yeah. Adam, how's New York?
Oh, it's good, man. It's good. Got straight in from the subway into the office and ripped the video, then did a guest on Trades and Five. Now doing this. We're having a blast, man. We're ready to talk Dynasty. I'm in a draft right now, anxiously waiting what Tony's going to do. He's trying to get me to trade up one spot. I'm not doing it. I'm not caving. I know he doesn't want to make the pick, so I'm going to make him make it. And Mike, I got Caleb Williams at the 102 and Malik at the 104 right now, and I'm sitting at the 108, waiting for the 107 to happen.
Not bad start. Well, we're going to talk about what the thumbnail was. Quarterback hoarding. Jim, let me ask you, you ever pulled off a QB hoard at all? Any league?
Once I did that, and it was fun because, in the super flex, obviously we all know this, and once you have that opportunity, somebody has quarterbacks go down, man, you got people over a barrel. It's a beautiful thing. I should have done it more, but I had one good opportunity, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. Have some fun. It was cool.
Well, I found myself just because of this rookie class. I was on the pre-NFL draft show with you, and I don't think there was a lot of people in your marathon show that were predicted 6 first-round NFL quarterbacks. So for Superflex Dynasty, we're like, what the hell is going on here? I have probably pulled off at least 7 quarterback hoards just in the rookie draft, just by just taking every one of them I can in the first round. It's like this class just set up for this addiction I have for quarterback hoarding. Gerard Mayo says he's calling 1-800-Hoarders on us.
Damn. I mean, to be fair, this is not the first time they've been called on our behalf, Mike.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. Because of the 6 quarterbacks, man. I just find myself, I'm like, hey, you take 1 or 2 early, and then you're sitting there and you're picking at 10 or 11 or 12 early second in Superflex, and you're going, what the fuck's there still first-round NFL quarterback on the board? All right, not anymore. Done. Screw y'all. I'm taking every single one of them. It's got to feel great, too, if you were one of the people thinking, hey, in the 24 class, I'm probably getting a quarterback to help fix my dynasty roster. And then my big, hairy dumbass comes in and goes, nah, not happening. So let me ask you, Jim, out of these quarterback classes, I mean, we saw them go. Do you got a preference? Like, how would you rank them 1 through 6? Like, who are you most likely to draft? Who are you least likely to draft?
You know, obviously the setup for Caleb Williams, the Bears have an adequate offensive line, and it might even get better. And obviously the weapons are there, and excited for that. The opportunity for a rookie quarterback is quite good. So obviously we like him the best. The second one is it's questionable because I always liked Daniel's second because of the running ability, but he's 210 pounds. And you know, these light quarterbacks, and I know he's not Robert Griffin, but I remember when Griffin came in and he's just a lighter guy running, taking these hits. So I do have him second, but Drake May, I see where he could be really successful, but I also wonder about his ability to navigate the middle of the field, locking on the first read too long. I'm not excited as much about this class beyond Caleb Williams. I see opportunities in the short term. I wouldn't be surprised if this class in a few years wasn't what we thought it would be.
I get behind that one. I can get behind that. What we thought, 21 class was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and what are we left with? One quarterback with a job. The rest of them backups.
I mean, T-Law's like kind of treaded water longer than he probably should have, if we're being honest, too. Like,
not because he's beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
Got long hair, long hair don't care. I'll be curious to see what happens. Because there's a lot of unknowns, Mike. I mean, what's Bo Nix going to look like in Denver? We talked about that at C2C. Like, is he going to be able to be an efficient fantasy quarterback if he's checking the ball down to not a lot of weapons and the Sean Payton offense? What does that look like? I actually really the value I really, really like in the class, though, is Michael Penix because people are not drafting him, essentially. So I'll take a second round. Basically, Mike, if you give me a top 10 quarterback that's going to go in the second round, I don't even have to know anything else. I sign up for that just for process. But there's a lot of other things I like there too.
Yeah, we did a Canton Bound episode this week, comes out tomorrow, where we kind of talked about it. But it's crazy when Eric and I were looking at ADP for this class for Superflex drafts that you got 2 quarterbacks in the second round.
The Fantasy Plumber has a question that I think needs to go ahead of the super chat. Frankly, Mike. All
right, throw it up there.
Mike, can I say that this is well done, frankly? Like, this is.
What a great comment. One wife swap.
That right there is just, you got to make the people read that one. That is epic. Well done.
Jesus.
The Fantasy Plumber is plumbing stuff right now, man.
Oh, wow,
that's good stuff. Laying the pipe.
Talk about the classic win-win scenario.
Yeah. Oh, man, we're starting this one off with the bagger. We do got a super chat, though, from Tyler. 12-team Superflex PPR. 2 tight end premium. Start 10. He's in a new startup at the 111. He traded his 4, 5, and first for the 110 and 703 and future second. He went with Chase, CD, Amon-Ra St. Brown, trying to build different than the others with 2 high quarterbacks. Just seeing your thoughts on builds different than traditional. All right, Adam.
Okay.
Definitely different than what we like to do normally. So he did not trade up to go after quarterbacks like you would think in a Superflex league. He went after wide receivers, and he locked up 3 of the top 4.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, Mike, frankly, this is dope. I love this because, can I tell you why I like this, Mike? And this is where the quarterback hoarding is the thumbnail. I think it's perfect, though, for this because the problem with the quarterback hoard right now, essentially, versus, let's call it 2021, right? 2021, the values were so high. Everybody's going in like the top 6, 7, 8 rounds of startups. So it was a lot. You could bend someone over the barrel if they didn't have a quarterback. Now, the values of quarterbacks are coming down so far in startups that, Mike, we just did actually coming out tomorrow, you'll see a startup mock we did. I was very curious to see how many of the rookies would go in the top 12 in a startup mock. By the way, the whole second round squeezed in the top 12 for the record. So, yeah, it's crazy. But, Mike, like, there was multiple times where I'm like, do people think this is one quarterback? Because they were Burrow went at the 112 in this startup we did, this mock. Wow. But, Mike, here's the thing. The quarterbacks, when you faded quarterback, like someone got Dak in the 4th round because that's how the board fell. And I'm not saying you're going to get Dak on this team. You're not, because you traded away your 4 and your 5. But could you find a way to get a Baker Mayfield, let's say, and can you basically get 2 top 15 quarterback options paired with these 3 receivers, and now you can just find a way to stream, insert running back, any running back on a 53. I think this can really work. The one problem is you do have to make sure that you give some kind of value at quarterback, because if you don't, you have these 3 guys and the rest of your team sucks. That first is going to become an early one.
Yeah, what do you think about it, Jim?
When you have a receiver trio like that, why aren't you super flexing one of them? Quite honestly, you get a 4th receiver, it'll be decent. But Chase, CD, Amon-Ra, other than the elite quarterbacks, they could be scoring in that tier. CD, right. We knew that after week 7 last year, believe it or not, Mike McCarthy actually figured out something which rarely happens. We can't run the ball. Oh, well, I guess we got to pass. And they just put their foot on the gas passing the whole rest of the way. Well, they had Zeke Elliott. They're going to be passing. And obviously Chase, we don't know what the situation with Higgins is, but Burrow looks good now. So, I mean, just thinking of getting those players, right? And Amon-Ra. So go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I saw in the comments. I forgot. I didn't realize he has the 302 and could get Dak there. I mean, if you pull that off, you got the stack too. W's, big W's, man. If you get that up, pulled off.
Love that.
Yeah. Geez, that'd be a slam dunk, right? Dak CD. I actually don't hate it as bad, but I'm with you, Adam. If you do not address your quarterback room, you're like, oh man, like they start going, and then you have to reach or whatever. Like you can put yourself in a bad spot being down your first, which is usually why I don't ever trade my first in a startup ever. Just there's too much unknown.
The one thing is, though,
Mike, gift somebody ever.
Theoretically now, right? So you have the 302 here, okay? So Dak, you're going to get someone there. Love, Dak. Someone's going to be there, right? So you get that. You have those 3 quarterbacks or those 3 receivers. In the 6th round, you could reach and get Baker in the 6th, right? Like, I feel like this is really good. This is really good.
I like it. I like it being a little bit different too, right? Just going against the grain, which I tend to do all the time. all the time.
Kirk Cousins is going super late, and you're seeing that across the board, right? Is that a player, if you're going to be light on quarterback, that you guys are avoiding, or are you going after him?
I'd go after him. I think the range of outcomes is
definitely, Jim.
Is wild. It's wild, but his value is going to fall so far. I mean, he's going to go sub 10th round sometimes, just the way people are scared shitless. So why not shoot your shot on him? You get Dak, and then you get 2 guys like that in the 9th, 10th, 11th round, somewhere in there, like a Geno Smith, and you just pair them in, and you're like, listen, this is what we're rolling with. I got 3 elite wide receivers. I got 2 quarterbacks with jobs, and I got a 3rd with a potential job. And the rest of my team is just built out. In the start 10, it's not bad coming out of a startup.
Now, Mike, if you think about this, right, if you were able to do this, let's say, I mean, you still could do it now, but a few years ago, if you did something like that, you're getting 3 of the elite quarterbacks with the idea of now bending someone over the barrel with the quarterback. The difference here is I don't have to bend anyone over the barrel except for every single time we play, because I can play all these guys. You can't do that with quarterback, right? Like, I think the biggest thing is making sure you get somebody in the 6th, 7th round that is at least like a mid-tier quarterback. Like I'm probably looking for Baker. If you don't do that, I'm definitely trying to get Stafford or somebody in the 8th. You don't want to get, I think, really far down the board where you're just throwing a hope and a prayer in there at the 2nd superflex spot.
I did get some questions started. Doak Walker was in here right away, so the algo is working. SEO is working today. Get out of my brain. I was literally just debating the idea of rookie quarterback hoarding. I open YouTube, and this is the top video when I open the app. I have the 101, 2, 3, 5, 203, 301, and 305.
Okay.
Wow.
This is actually, man, this is a perfect question coming off of what we just had. Mike, because do you quarterback hoard here, or do you just wide receiver hoard? Do you just take Marv, Malik, and Rome?
You could. I'm going to lean on the quarterback side almost.
No, right, but I guess the reason
I
know you are, but I guess the reason I'm putting this out there is a couple reasons. One, the whole idea of the quarterback hoard is what? Now you got to pivot these into receivers. And if you get, so you would take here Caleb and Jaden Daniels, obviously 1 and 2, right? If you did it 103,
Marv 3, Drake May, or JJ 5.
Okay, that's a little different because you still at least get one of the receivers there. I thought you were talking about just like grab all the quarterbacks. Okay,
You could, and I would be the asshole who do it. I wouldn't recommend it right off the bat, but I would go. There has been drafts where I would let Mar fall to 4.
But Mike, can I tell you the beauty of this though? You don't have to even do that because if you take the wide receivers there with you having the 105, you still get Caleb or Jaden there.
Could, yeah, you could.
It's exactly like that last one. That's why I wanted to talk about it because people don't like to see it or they're not used to seeing it, so they can't think about it. I'll take at that spot, give me all 3 of the receivers, and then you can pick. You want Jaden? Go ahead. You want to give me Caleb, Jaden? I don't care. I'll take it at 105. I'll take all 3 receivers right here.
Man, you're spicy. You're full on this receiver train. I love it. The convert Adam.
Absolutely.
I tried to hold him back, Jim. I tried to hold him back. I tried to give him the facts. I tried to take him through every wide receiver class in history, especially with elite picks, and tell him how many of those guys busted versus how many quarterbacks busted, and he still don't believe me.
Jim, as somebody, with some sense around here, because it's not me and it's not Mike, frankly, all right? We tell him to stop looking in the rearview mirror because we're going forward, damn it. Nobody gives a shit about what used to happen. We're talking about today, tomorrow. Last year, yesteryear, all them other years, you can have it. Anybody else?
The thing about the past is the NFL always seems to push quarterbacks up further than they need to go. And I think that's where our bust rate comes in. And honestly, I didn't grade Penix. I know he won't start this year. Didn't grade him as a first-round quarterback. Didn't grade Nix as a first-round quarterback. And in reality, the top 3, sure. But I don't think that it should have all been first-round picks. But obviously, the NFL made it that way. So I think they're pushing the bust factor up because we know there will not be 6 star quarterbacks in this class. It never happens. It never will happen. It's just because desperation drives these picks. That's the only thing I'll say with that. With receivers, every year is different. So I won't argue the receiver one because there could be a class that comes out. And we did have some recent classes that were really good. But the quarterbacks, there's going to be bust rate. Absolutely has to happen.
Well, yeah, there's no way all 6 hit. We all agree that. But let me ask you, Jim, because when we look back at the greatest class is similar where they took 6 in the first round. What do you think has to happen of hits, though? Like if 3 hit here, like if we get 3 great quarterbacks, that's a huge win, no? Like what has to happen in the future for this class to be graded as favorably at quarterback? I think that's the biggest discussion.
You're right. 3 would be a massive hit. And clearly we have Caleb at the first one, but there are worries about him as well. You go from Lincoln Riley's offense. First of all, you are already set up for success there, right? So you're going to look better. He played 4 ranked teams. He was terrible. Caleb Williams was awful. He had a 3 interception game against Notre Dame, but the other 3 ranked teams, he didn't do much in those games either. His rating was down like 60 points. And I know you'll play worse against better teams, but it was like way, way, way worse. Right now, I like him because of his supporting cast, but I'm not even sold that Caleb Williams is going to be the deal. Maybe he will be. That's the easiest path to success. But the other ones, like I said, Drake May, I see some accuracy. I don't see the strong enough arm. I know he's athletic and can run a bit. I don't see him as a franchise guy, but he could be a good mid-range starter. It's Daniels I'm worried about. That 210 really bothers me because if he's going to be mobile and he's going to run, man, those hits pile up in a hurry. And not a lot of these mobile quarterbacks know how to avoid the big hits. So Nix, I'm worried about. You go from Oregon, now you're coming over. Fortunately, not for him playing well as a quarterback, but Peyton has it set up for a running team. He brought in run blocking offensive linemen last year. They got, they're bringing in more running backs. They're not going to make him throw a lot, but that's not good for fantasy. And I'm very skeptical that Nick's is the guy. So I'm not really psyched about the class. Williams has a shot, maybe, and I'm just worried about Daniels after year 1 or 2.
So I guess actually, Jim, you bring up a good point with the 210. I'd say I would be less worried about it. Like, as I see Lamar, now the difference here is like Lamar is at 215 or 16 when he came in the league, but he was unbelievable and still is unbelievable at avoiding hits. Jaden Daniels, if you put on the tape while he's a super athletic kid and can run away from everybody, Mike, and I don't know for me, what was amazing was he does not seem to be able to avoid hits. Like he takes some shots, and that does worry me. If he can find a way to either get out of bounds or slide, get down, I think that'd be huge for him. But right now, I don't see that from him.
You bring up Lamar. I'm sorry, real quick. Lamar,
Yeah.
like you said, he has just been insanely incredible at outrunning contact. He did learn to get out of bounds, but he is like the master of it, right? Of not taking too many big hits. I can't tip my hat enough to that, man. Go right ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're good. That's exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly right. Mike, what do you think?
It's concerning. He needs to learn how to slide, get out of bounds, be more Lamar-esque, Russell Wilson-esque. But that's something that you can teach. That's something that you can learn. And I think the first time he takes a massive fucking wallop from an NFL linebacker, he be like, all right,
listen, if he doesn't learn it early, because if the SEC hits that he took, Mike, I saw some crazy hits where I'm like, bro, there's no way that didn't just you woke up a little woozy.
Knocked a filling loose.
Now, if the NFL doesn't get it to him early in the game, that's troublesome because he's also not just because he's 210, but Mike, he's a taller. He's a big target when he runs upright too. Like that's the thing. He's got to find a way to slide. Yep. I think you can teach that, but that's one thing that does concern me.
To put a bow on Doak Walker's question, though, go with your heart. Do what you feel. And if you do end up going like super asshole QB horde, make sure you tag me on Twitter with that draft. I want to see the picture.
Whatever you do at this point, I think you got to at least like tag us all. Let us know what you do. Even if it's nothing that we recommended, that's fine too. I just want to know what you did.
How about Joey Cheese Sticks dropping the $20 super chat in deep best ball 12, 13, 14? What are we moving A-Rich for? 2 of the 3 teams are a year away. Otherwise, is the top 6. Cheers, gents. Joey been drinking already. You can tell. I love you, Joey. Joey,
there's a lot of things that lead to us believing you've been drinking, but appreciate the super chat, Joey, regardless. All right, Mike, I'll let you as the quarterback horde truther right now. What are you doing?
13 and 14, you can get a little bit less, right? Just we know the warp graphs in there, quarterbacks matter a little bit less, even in best ball. They still matter because there's scarcity, so you're still going to want them. But I would say, like, if we were talking the first part of it, the 12, a start 11, a start 10, a start 9, even in best ball, like, I'm not letting A-Rich out of my sight for anything less than 3 first plus, like, in value return. Like, ideally, I want 2 firsts and then another quarterback I can just start. That's where I'm at. 13, 14, Adam. I don't know. You could probably drop it down to just generically like 2 first and like a couple pieces, like a couple seconds or a couple throw-ins, a couple running backs, something like that. A couple second-round graded wide receivers. Just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and you can get by just fine just because it's so deep and depth is going to matter so much. In a start 14 best ball, Adam, you know, where like I can talk all the good quarterback nonsense that I want, but they're a little bit more devalued. These teams just with overwhelming amounts of wide receivers just beat your ass if you just have 2 really good quarterbacks. Where start 9, 10, 11, 12, if I've got 2 elite guys, like you have a tougher time of catching me every single week. So
I'm with you.
I think I'm a little bit more lax in the deeper formats to go like, okay, I'll take a little bit less just to move off him to get a bunch of depth.
I'm with you. I think here, start 12. I might be a little more of a dick as far as like being selective. Start 13, 14, Mike, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'd probably be willing to take a little less than the average person if I need this format, best ball, right? You want to have 25 people that come in and out of your lineup, probably 30 maybe. There's no way you have that. There's just no way you're even close. So if you're giving me 2 legit pieces, honestly, Mike, that aren't even super, super high options, I'd probably be at least thinking about it. But I'll say with A-Rich, what you can definitely do is play the market, like see what everyone else. Make sure before you take one specific offer that you're, examining every option with the other teams because you never know. Someone puts that offer through, and you've seen the chat every now and again. What? No, I would have given you so much more for A-Rich. The people, the Monday morning quarterbacks out there, make sure that it's out there in the DMs before they start capping and acting like they're going to give you more than they actually were. That's my favorite thing.
Those are my least favorite people in the entire world. Those Monday morning commentators after a trade. Like, shut the fuck up. No one cares about your opinion. All right? No one cares. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. The story of fantasy football through and through. Doesn't matter if it's dynasty, redraft, whatever. There's always those trade police out there. And this is coming from 2 guys who do a fucking trade show every week and rate trades. But people come here to watch our stuff. We didn't ask for, Steve from Ohio's fucking opinion. All right, Steve? No one gives a shit.
Damn. Let him know, Mike. Mike's drinking some 90 proof, by the way, so he's not far from Joey Cheesestick here in a second.
All right, I got one here. Talk to me about quarterback hoarding. What is too far? In a start 10, 30-man roster lineup league, Tyrod Taylor, Badgett, Ritter, Wentz, too far. I know it says rookie, but it's my current dilemma.
Okay,
I think
so
this is a little bit of a difference in opinion, Adam. Like, I am very much for the Scott Connor approach with this any quarterback on the 2 deep, essentially, which these guys fit the mold, right? Because somebody gets injured, all of a sudden one of these fucks is worth a third, at least, in Superflex. Somebody's like, I know, shit, Aaron Rodgers went down. I need a backup. Give me something. Tyrod Taylor, Badgett, Ritter, Wentz, those guys are all fine. I'll say this, though, that really doesn't fit my overall definition of quarterback hoarding. When I talk about quarterback hoarding, I mean guys who are solid with jobs. So in lineup leagues, especially, Adam, like, I put the cutoff somewhere around like that 18, quarterback 18 range, right? Like, I don't want the shitters down below.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want Geno Smith to be part of my quarterback hoard, because if Geno Smith doesn't have a job by week 6, then that's just burnt fucking money that I spent. Like, I'm not leveraging anybody for a backup quarterback. I will say this, the strategy, though, of rostering backups is completely fine. Like, yeah, put a bunch of those guys on your roster, right? Put them on your roster. But just don't think you're going to bend people over the barrel until somebody else goes down. Now, when I talk about quarterback hoarding, I mean, I'm drafting like 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, you know, in the top 20 of dynasty quarterback ranks, and I'm narrowing the market, right? When people look at their lineup for week 1, they go, fuck, I don't have a quarterback for my super flex.
Right.
Or,
I think
shit, I don't have a third quarterback. I'm the guy you got to come see. When you're doing it with backup quarterbacks, it's like, well, as soon as somebody gets injured, then maybe you're okay.
Yeah, this is so like there's quarterback hoarding, which would be actually hoarding the market of, legitimate valued quarterbacks or like starters, real options. This is basically trying to, on the back end, take as many shots at the dartboard of the person in front of them gets hurt, all of a sudden there's value here, but it's not anywhere near where you can now trade that person for what you might in the quarterback hoard, right? Like this is now you're trying to take nothing and turn it into something. Like this is basically a magic trick. You're hoping that you catch fire and you turn 0 into a 3rd round pick or 0 into a 2nd and a 3rd swap or something, right? Like what I will say the thing here to actually remember, if you go this way, Flowosaurus, or anybody listening, last year I watched this a lot. People would do this concept, and then they have Josh Dobbs, or they have any of the guys. Badgett was actually one of the guys that made it there, right? You had countless, Jake Browning. And then you want to get, because you think this quarterback hoarding strategy, you want to get something astronomical, so you miss your whole fucking window. And now you end up back to the 0. So guess what? Magic trick joke's on you. You did nothing with it because you probably didn't even play him the whole time. I watched it time and time again. If you have this happen and you're doing it with the idea of actually like the quarterback hoard free version, you make sure you liquidate, even if it feels light. You got to make sure you get capitalization, because it's not going to do anything. Once they're not the starter anymore, their value is completely gone. 0.
What do you think, Jim? It also has a lot of parallels to like backup running backs, right? Same kind of thing. Like, I'm rostering somebody else's handcuff. That guy goes down. Like, I got to move this fucking guy right now. Like, move him immediately.
There really isn't much to add. You guys covered it perfectly, because obviously, like you guys said, you're taking these low end guys. In this case, just see they catch magic. I like that. And what you're saying, Mike, I agree with. The hoarding is when you get guys that are actually valuable players now and will be in 5 weeks and will be in 8 weeks. So yeah, it's just 2 different ends of the story. But yeah, I'd much prefer Mike's method of hoarding the good ones.
We do get another quarterback hoarding comment/question. Texas Wolverine says, just finished a rookie draft lineup, 12 teams, start 10, 6-point passing touchdown. He took Caleb 101, Daniels 104, love that value, and Penix 201. He's adding them to Herbert and Burrow. So now he has 5 quarterbacks. He's excited to capitalize on this leverage. What would you think about that as that little mini quarterback hoard there? 5 guys like that, Jim. What are you doing with them? Like, what's your asking price? Who's the one you're most excited to sell first to get off?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, if my concerns with the size of Daniels and him being a runner, if somebody agrees with that take, then he's the one you sell high. Because I do think for fantasy for this year, which we're talking Dynasty, but I think Daniels is the number one this year because of that running ability early, and that's when it would work best. So I would think leveraging him early. But obviously, Penix is a few years down the road. You're probably not going to get nearly as much for him right now because somebody's have to wait potentially a couple of years for that. But, Caleb I'd probably hold him because realistically, he should have weapons for a while. They got Odunze, DJ Moore. I imagine they can keep him with a quarterback on a rookie contract. So, yeah, Daniels being my one, and I know you love him, and maybe he'll end up learning how to slide and not take the hits. But for me, that would be the break point.
Adam, what about you? Like, who you moving?
I mean, anyone but Penix. I'll see if you're gonna go down this path, right? If you're gonna do at this point, this is really leaning into it because you already had two very good quarterbacks. Now Herbert, you could debate on with the projection of how this offense is going to change. We've covered that a ton before. But passing on Marv for Caleb here, basically you right then and there have made a decision. I'm quarterback hoarding versus building my roster construction, right? That's a massive decision right there at 101. So I do at least there see leaning into it now at 104, right? When Daniels is there. Like once you make the decision at 101, you might as well go all the way. So I can get behind that. And I think 201 Penix is a great value. Penix is the one I'm just not selling now because there's no reason to. We know his value. Of all these people, there's only one person guaranteed to go up. That's Penix.
I like it.
The other guys are not guaranteed to go up, so I'm holding him at all costs. And then once you have four quarterbacks in this range, the beauty is you can let the buyers dictate which one they want. And you have a plethora to let them, you want to come get Herbert? Sure. You want to come get Burrow? Sure. It's going to cost you Burrow prices. It's going to cost you Herbert prices. Let them pick their flavor. Don't try to force a quarterback on someone that doesn't really like. Like, for example, if I know this about Jim, and I'm not trying to trade Jim Daniels. Why? Why do that? Right? Like, understand that just because you have a plethora means that you get to sell the one you want to. A lot of times it's actually understanding that people have preferences and letting them buy the one they want.
Yeah, I'm with you with 201 with Penix. I'm putting a diamond next to his name. I'm going to diamond hand the shit out of him until his value goes up. That's a fucking call option if there ever was a call option.
I love
I'm going down the road here on him. Caleb and Daniels, I'm with you, Jim. Like, if Daniels is your concern, like, I find the Daniels truther, which if I was in that league, Texas Wolverine to be me, and you go to him, you'd be like, hey, what would you give me for him? The other one I say most likely for me, like, if this was my roster, Justin Herbert, just where I'm at with him. Low volume passing offense that's going to run the ball a fuck ton. And it really, Ladd McConkey is a nice receiver, but that's your number one, folks. That's your number one. Like, he'll be fine from a fantasy production standpoint just because there's nobody else, but think about what else the quarterback's throwing to. So it's rough for him out there in the lower volume one. Still has a really good market. People are still in love with him. Rightfully so. He's got great talent. He's incredibly talented. But for the next foreseeable future, as long as Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman are heading that offense up, that's the guy where I'm like, hey, by the way, Justin Herbert's available, and I'll be pretty reasonable. And I think that's probably the key to the quarterback hoard. A lot of people, when they do it, Adam and I, we have talked about this on a podcast where when I QB hoard, like, the first deal I make is usually the most reasonable. Like, okay, I'm trying to get the first one out the door. I'm trying to let people know that the shop of Mike is open for business. Come shopping. And then the second guy who comes who's like, oh, I want to build a contender and get one, that's the guy that I break it off in. That's the guy where I go, oh, by the way, price of the brick went up. We live in a different world than we did 5 minutes ago, buddy.
So let's walk through this to see. I think this is a perfect example to talk about what you just said, and I think forecast it into, okay, how do you be reasonable, but actually net enough value to say that you don't get Marv? You're not going to get Marv in this trade now, probably, right? So you took Caleb instead of Marv. So how do you actually be reasonable while also netting back at least Marvin Harrison Jr.'s value or north of that? Like, how does that trade go down? Like, what do you I guess what are we looking for in this trade that makes the profit make sense, but also not like, okay, no one's coming to buy at this shop because it's, it's like shopping down the street here in New York. No, almost no one can afford it, you know?
It's a big like push and pull, ain't it?
It sure
Figuring
is.
out what the league market is. But too, Adam, you and I have always differed on this. You're very league focused. And when I talk about quarterback hoarding, let me be very clear. You know, I play in 45 plus dynasty leagues, right? So I play in what's called a portfolio, a big portfolio, where I don't necessarily care about independent league dynamics, which is not the same for most people. Most people only play in 3, 4, maybe 5 leagues. You do need to take the Adam approach and like understand what your league market is. But I'm also of the opinion when I play in bigger portfolios where if I can't get something done in one league, I don't give a shit because I have 3 more that are in a similar situation and I can go try it there and see if it gets done in that league, right? So when I make trades, it's just from this 10,000 foot view, and the market is my own personal market, right? It's not independent of the league.
Well,
So when you quarterback hoard, I just want people to be aware, like, when you only play in 4 or 5 leagues, it's a little bit tougher. Like, you got to have real iron balls to pull it off. And you have to make peace with the fact that you may fail at doing it. Adam, you know, in that Expo League with Maddie and some of the other content creators that are in there with it, like, I quarterback hoarded for the last 3 fucking years this league's been in existence. I haven't won shit, and I haven't traded a goddamn quarterback yet, right?
Sure.
From the original.
yeah,
But
you're going the long haul.
You have to be okay with the failure. Like, you have to tell yourself, I might not succeed at that. It's not a one size fit all approach. Jim mentioned it at the top. Like, he did it once and it was amazing, right? You get overconfident sometimes. But I'm telling you, even Jim, like, he may do it in the next league that he's like, oh, okay, I got a chance to do a quarterback hoard, and you may fail spectacularly.
Yep.
But you need to be okay with it. You need to be okay that the payoff in the one league is so much higher than the failure in the other league.
Well, I guess because it's interesting to hear you talk about that because, Mike, okay, so from a portfolio perspective, right? Portfolio, you're playing the market of just it doesn't actually include individual trading in the market dynamics of a specific league, right? But the quarterback hoard in general, if you're talking from just a portfolio perspective, that quarterback hoarding only works in a market of a league because you have to now play into the scarcity and people buying into it. If it's just portfolio wise, that doesn't, like, a portfolio doesn't create that dynamic. That dynamic is created by the league specific nature of having someone overpay or give you what you're needing back because they need a quarterback. It's literally finding a need on another team or someone to pay that. So I guess that's where, for me, even if in a portfolio, you have to obviously, in order to execute it, you have to understand that market. Now, you obviously do that too. But I guess my question now with that said is, where here, like, generic values, or roughly, what would you need in order to actually make this now make sense in a return trade, like for any one of these quarterbacks, the 4 that we're talking, right?
2 first plus for Herbert, and that'd be the first offer I sent out to somebody.
Okay.
That's the, like, listen, I'm taking bottom dollar and letting people know that the quarterback shop is open, and I'm breaking them off here. And then that gets you down to Caleb, Daniels, and Joe Burrow. Those are your 3 starters with your diamond hand and Michael Penix. Now, when the next person comes asking for a quarterback, you're getting fucked over. Right? They're coming for either Burrow, Caleb, or Daniels, and I'm going 3 first. You just sold Herbert like 3 weeks ago for this. Yeah, well, today's prices are different, right? The market dynamics have changed, right? It's the stock market. Shit goes up and down. If you watch Wolf of Wall Street, it's the fugazi. It's just fucking digits, high frequency. It doesn't matter anymore, all right? This is the new fucking price. Either pay it or get the fuck out.
Let me ask you guys then. I can get behind that. I think that's a reasonable ask, right? I think someone would pay a 2 first and, you know, a second or whatever that plus might look like.
Yeah.
Not being a full first, right, in value. But let me ask you guys this right now. If you had someone coming to you in 25 picks, 26 picks, whatever it would be, future generics out, what are you selling Marv for? Or what does Marv go for?
See, this is the difference between you and I. Like, I would let Marv go for two firsts.
Well, okay. So but you're basically saying this, the difference is like a second in value, right?
Yep.
So I guess, okay, so one, I don't know if most people would sell Marv for 2 random 25 first, to your point. Secondly, let's even say that was actually the case. Is it worth at this point, in the perfect scenario here where you net an additional value of a second, Is it worth playing this game for that?
Yes.
Wow.
1,000% it's worth it.
You know, in my mind, what's interesting.
It's definitely not. Because you
When
don't
you talk about Marvin,
you could end up missing 2 years because you're just holding this value for a second-round pick.
The second round pick can mean everything, though, Adam. You know,
But
in this class, how many of these seconds do you want in 2024?
But is a
All of
second-round pick. How many times would you
fucking
burn?
12.
How many times would you burn a second-round pick right now to go win? All of them.
In season, week 14, yes.
So my point is the second-round pick is not necessarily worth playing this game for because you inherently take on the risk of not necessarily winning for 2 years.
No, I'm squeezing that lemon for all the fucking juice, every bit of it, and it is worth it every single time because you do that time after time after time again.
All right. It literally doesn't make sense given that you are potentially foregoing 2 years. To your point, you had 3 years in the Expo. Wouldn't you give up a second to have those guys valued into your roster right now?
That's one league that's failed.
I'm not using only that one. I'm just using the most specific example of where it could take time for this to actually net value to you.
And we play the long game of Dynasty, right? Unless he's in a league that's folded in the next 2-3 years. Those seconds add up.
But that's where it's
those seconds add up
we talk about
and over and over again.
We talk about, though, you don't have to have it all in one trade. So, for example, I already have Penix, which I'm drafting at the 201, which is going to become a first in 2 years. Like, you can make it back, is my point. You don't have to get a second every trade. A lot of times we'll take a trade that we lose on for a specific scenario. So, for me, this is not worth it, given if I'm only trying to net back a second at some point down the road. That's, I guess, my point. I'm not saying that you can't have your different opinion. That's, for me, not worth the risk of potentially not being in the mix for 2 seasons.
Okay. What do you think, Jim? We've been on
the one thing I thought when you brought up Marvin, and you know, we know any player could bust, but in my mind, the quarterbacks, there are concerns. Whereas with Harrison, in my mind, it's like nobody's a guarantee, but he's probably pretty close, and he's probably more stable than the quarterback class in a player that's going to make it. So I would really hold out significantly for more than the quarterback than for Harrison, because if I have Harrison with me, it's probably somebody who's going to benefit me for a long, long time. And so I would view it a little bit differently. Again, that's just me, but I know the super flex always adds in the added layer and the scarcity. But again, I just think that the likelihood of Harrison busting in my mind are less than like 10%.
It's probably fair. Like, I don't think he's going to bust. It's just when I look at the totality of it, there's a lot of guys out there that I didn't think would ever bust, and yet here we are.
Sure. I mean,
it feels like as dynasty managers, especially when you're in rookie drafts, we're basically degenerate fucking gamblers at the blackjack table, and you're like, I know last time I got fucked, but you know, I got a feeling this time it's different. All right. It's the same shit you tell your wife when you're like, all right, that $3,000 that's mysteriously missing from our checking account, don't worry, I'm going to make it back the next time. It kind of feels like what we talk ourselves into, even though statistically and historically it tells us get fucked.
Right? And you mean the wife you gave away about an hour ago, right? That wife?
Yeah,
just
the one I sold. The one I sold.
Yes.
Got rid of her. Listen, Skeleton.
I was going to say, like, even if we think we know Marv is has a very low chance at busting, we've seen, I don't know if we've seen a guy that talented, but we've seen very talented receivers bust. Appreciate it, Ernie.
Johnny Detroit needs some assurance. All inbox startup draft. Give Justin Jefferson. Get Nico 25 and 26 first. I'm really tempted. All right, Johnny. If you want to post in there a little bit more context, like what is the Superflex League, one quarterback, how many teams, etc., because it does change, right? And one QB, fuck out of here, right? I'm keeping Justin Jefferson at all costs. You can piss out of here with your Nico Collins and your 2 firsts, because in one QB, those firsts could be fucking ass. They could be terrible. If this is a 12-team Superflex League, though, Adam, is Nico and 2 future firsts, 1 in 25 and 26, enough for you to move off Justin Jefferson?
What's the settings here?
You paid a lot of attention. I just asked.
No, I'm literally in a draft trying to make a trade for the 107 and 108. So I do not apologize for not paying attention.
Hypothetically, just assume
at
it's 12,
all. Everybody
12 team Superflex. Start 10.
Start 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is right. I think if you felt loaded and you felt like you had the assets to pivot up for, I would be willing to do this. It's probably steep, frankly, to do this to get Jefferson, but there's an inherent security with Jefferson. It just feels like, right? But if you need to get value on your team, or you're not like locked and ready to go, this is hard to pass too. I mean, this is, even if they're generic, we don't know what they're going to finish. That's 3 firsts in value, where Nico's probably a little more than just a generic first. And you still get a receiver back that's a top 20 type receiver. Those are tough to pass on, frankly. But it's close. It's a fair trade, I think. That's probably what market dictates.
2-parter then, Jim. 1, what do you think about the deal? Would you do it? Would you not do it? And secondly, Nico Collins, what do you think his dynasty value in a superflex is worth right now?
You know, I love Nico Collins with this trade, but here's the thing. Every year he's hurt, misses time. And that's a concern. Usually when you're young, you have your better chances of durability, and they're differing injuries, and it hasn't been on catastrophic hits. So I'm very concerned about his durability. Love the player, but to hitch to a long term, 3 straight years of missed time, probably not so much. Now Jefferson missed time last year, but that was it. And freak hamstring injury, whatever, but he's been durable. I get the 2 first rounds are there, but like you said, they're generic. We don't know what they're going to be. I don't trust Collins to stay healthy. And so that's the only reason. I'm going to stick with Jefferson there. You had a second question. Of course, I forgot. I'm old.
What do you think Nico's dynasty value is then in a superflex? Like if you're like, hey, I'm concerned about Nico's injury history. I'm ready to liquidate him, get him off my team. What are you accepting back?
Yeah, so I do think there's going to be a really high market. I think that injury stuff, people aren't paying attention to. I think last year they saw the breakout. They see C.J. Stroud. They see Bobby Slowick. You're going to be schemed open into space. I think people are seeing all roses on him. So I do think it's a great sell opportunity for Nico Collins if you're on that side of the deal. And I do think you could get, and I don't even know how to say what high value would be, but I do think you could get, and you guys are better with knowing like the specific values, but I would say people are going to value him just under like those top 7 or 8 receivers, because they're going to hit, like I said, roses and sunshine right now.
Yeah, it kind of feels like he falls into it, especially when I do my dynasty ranks. He falls into a big tier of a lot of dudes. It's like, I don't really give a shit where you rank them. They're all kind of the same. But I think anybody in that tier, just depending on where the market is on them, like who's really into them, maybe who's a Texans fan, maybe who's a big Nico fan or a former Michigan fan, you can probably get a first and a second out of Nico Collins just by itself, right? If I were going to liquidate him, give me a 25 first and a 25 second in a Superflex League. And now, Adam, to your point, you're looking at 3 generic firsts and a second round pick for 1 Justin Jefferson. He's fucking amazing. But at that price, like, I'll take the 4 assets for the 1 and just bet against him. Like, hey, maybe J.J. McCarthy just runs a triple option this year.
Well, and that's where, like, that's where, like, getting back Nico, though, right? Or in the scenario, let's even say they were all liquid. Like, all you have to do is hit one of those, not to Jefferson's level, but you hit one of those into a top 15 mix-it receiver. Not saying that you have the hammer of Jefferson, but you can now pivot a lot of the other assets, and you're playing with the profit to go get the next version of JJ or Marv. Right now we're talking about, right? Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, whatever it's going to be in the next few classes, which, by the way, 25, you can say what you want about it, but there's some pretty good, I'm not going to call them receivers like we have in this class, but there's some pretty good receivers that I'd be willing to take a lot of shots on.
It feels like every year too, just even in rookie drafts, even if these picks were late, we get that 109, 110, 111, 112, that rookie first rounder who settles into ADP, where you're like, at the end of the year, you're like, son of a bitch, that guy was good. Why the fuck did he fall so far? Happens all the time. Justin Jefferson was a prime example here. Remember when he was going at the 110? That was great times. Great times for everybody who took him. How about this from Joey Cheesestick? Another Choose Super Chat, $20. We out here for Mile. I assume that's Mike. In my 90 proof. So Joey is enjoying his own 90 proof at this point. Here for the full ship BDGE collab, Elite Dynasty with Elite Redraft. Let's fucking go. Dang. Hey, don't forget Jim's on here. Rotowire doing good things over there, man.
Remember we said Mike Joey's been drinking. It's, you know.
He's been
we love you, Joey.
Been drinking hard.
All right. This one's in. There's a couple things on here I was kind of wanting to cover. Okay.
What's up, fellas? Conflicted on when to buy a running back to contend after a successful rebuild. Is it too early in the year to buy guys like Brooks or Cook for a safe wide receiver due to the risk? All right, Jim, let's get your thoughts on it. I mean, Adam and I answer this kind of shit all the time about running backs, but where are you at, especially in the dynasty market? It is the beginning of May. The NFL draft just got over with. You're looking to compete in 2024. Are you buying running backs now or are you waiting?
Yeah, I'm probably waiting. With Brooks, I mean, situation could potentially be nice, but again, I'm not sold. I'm not sold on any runner in this class being somebody who's going to carry a fantasy team. I can see them being pieces, a lot of rotational guys. Cook, I know when they brought Ray Davis in, he's gonna be a banger. They can't relegate Cook to those interior carries too much, because if he goes down, they got what, Darrington Evans, they've got Ty Johnson. Yeah, that's not going to work. So they have to be careful with Cook's usage here. And with the receiving room they have, again, I know they had Keon Coleman, but I don't think defenses are going to be terrified of the receivers. And I think they're going to see a little more attention up front. So yeah, I'm going to wait on running backs and kind of out on this group a bit.
If there was a specific running back that'd make you buy, let's just hypothetically say the price was right, you felt like you're getting a little discount. Do you kind of got a list of guys where like, all right, I know it's the beginning of May, but I'm willing to risk it for these particular running backs, this set of guys where I feel good about?
There always is that list, and there is one rookie actually on the list of it. I just kind of talked down the rookies, but I do like Benson. I do think. See, here's the thing: what we have in the NFL right now is last year we saw that the league learned defensively how to use light fronts and shoot gaps, and they were really good. That's why Atlanta's running game scuffled. Arthur Smith didn't know that zone was getting beat. Well, Sean McVay figured out the antidote very quickly. He was going duo downhill, and that's why Kyron Williams had the year he had, because you're getting the point of attack before they're shooting the gap, and you're taking 3 yards and you're getting to the second level. And that's where you compromise the second level defenses. So as we talk about this, Benson is perfect for a downhill runner. Doesn't have a lot of wiggle side to side. But if the league starts figuring this out, and the league's not going to shy away from these light fronts because they're more worried about the explosive play in the passing game. They want you to beat them with 15 play drives because you'll make a holding call, maybe, a turnover. That's what they want to do. Benson, I do think, profiles perfectly against today's light boxes.
Yeah, and to that point on the strategy side,
Adam, before you get there, man, I think this is the first duo reference that we've had on this fucking show ever, and I love that Jim's the one who gave it. Right, we're talking duo and power. The fat guys up front in the blocking scheme. I fucking love it, Jim. Oh, that's the highlight. I gotta clip this.
Boy, Jim. Oh, we'll clip it for sure. Yeah, I was just gonna say though. I think to the point, back to the strategy side of it. For me, So, Bargusas, if you think about what the question was, right? You're coming out of a rebuild. To me, Brooks coming off of the ACL and just the lack of vision and understanding I have. You talk about holes of the team of the Panthers, right? I can't see shit as far as what they're going to look like this year. And he's not healthy. I think on a contender, I would rather have Benson, because even though I may not be playing him right away while Connor's there, I think there's a very realistic chance where Benson is the one. If things break right for him, that he could be like a league winner in fantasy next year. So I definitely agree with that on Benson. Cook is an interesting one. Obviously, they just drafted Ray Davis, so we're probably not looking at a ton of, inside the 5 touches for Cook. But I could be swayed to buy Cook for the right price. I'll say in general, I would buy a running back if the price actually makes sense. I think right now, typically when you buy the running backs at this time of year, it doesn't make sense, right? If you're trading for actual market value to take on the risk of a running back, I'm not doing that. But if it's cheap enough, I'd acquire them when I need to. But Brooks versus Cook here, if I was going to do it, it'd be for Cook. Now, what would you trade in a receiver, let's say, Mike or Jim? What would that need to look like? Or where would you be willing to say, okay, you know what, this is enticing enough for me to make it now?
So I'm not going to give you like a specific receiver, but just in general, let's use a 12-team Superflex start 10, right?
Yeah.
Just a pretty vanilla league.
Basic, sure.
If I'm looking to upgrade the running back, let's say I've built correctly, right? I already got my quarterback situation up. I'm invested in young, good wide receivers. I feel like I'm ready to come out of this rebuild. I have some like solid depth backup, and I still got some draft capital to play with in case shit goes sideways or I need to buy a piece here or there. if I'm looking to move one of those receivers at him, it's more like whoever that wide receiver 4 or 5, like in a start 10, like who is that flex wide receiver, like that last flex wide receiver that I'm plugging in, where I look and I go, is there very much difference between my wide receiver 5 and my wide receiver 6? And I would say there's probably not. So not only does this make it easier for me on fucking Sundays setting lineups where it's just like, okay, now there's a big gap between wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 6 after I move one of these dudes off my team, where there's no question on who the fuck I'm starting. Let me invest in a running back, and make that 1-for-1 swap. So
I love
don't know,
that.
like some guys that kind of came to mind. You might have like a few older guys that you picked up just in the back end of the trade. Maybe like a Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, like somebody of that ilk, where I'm looking like,
Ridley.
okay, James Cook, a Ridley, James Cook straight up for one of these guys. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay taking on the risk of the running back. I think you and I have been burned so many times about buying running backs early in the off season of Dynasty and then getting completely fucked over when they get to training camp and preseason when they inevitably get hurt or lose their job or somebody else is coming in where you're going like, what the hell was I doing? Where I'm just naturally, I'm more apt to not buy running backs until we get to, the later part of August where I'm starting to look around my league going like, all right, this guy ain't competing. Let me get your running backs from you, bro.
Now Mike,
get these off you.
Part of the reason, like, it's interesting to the point of the quarterback hoard, right? It's kind of bringing that back in because it's, to me, a lot of the same principles still apply. So, for example, here in this one, theoretically, you use your roster construction. And let's say you have 6 or 7 receivers. This is why I think it's important also when we rank, Mike, we rank with tiers because I'm looking at my roster construction. Let's say I have 7 wide receivers. If there's 3 guys in the same tier, and I'm able to, and I'm affording, I can afford to get rid of 1, right? My roster construction says I can go to 6 receivers. Like you can basically pick your flavor of the 3 guys in this tier. If I'm getting James Cook, because realistically, I'm going to have the same problem every single week trying to pick which one of those 3 that I'm playing in my actual lineup. So similar to the quarterback board, it's like you can come get your preference at this price. So I think that's that'd be the takeaway for me is it's got to make sense to what my team build actually is. And I can afford to get off of, even if it's the highest valued in my current tier, I'd be willing to do that if it made sense with my roster construction.
I don't know how many teams too, like I've really gotten away from this. Like we love, especially because we play all our dynasty leagues on Sleeper and we love looking at projections and you're like, oh, look how many points I'm projected to score in week 1. That shit means nothing at the end of the day. Like I am very much okay now going into week 1 with my running back room being a fucking who knows. Like what's going to happen? Because even if I lose week 1 or week 2, I'm not in that big of a hole. Like by the time week 3 comes around, the entire league dynamic could change because you saw last year, like we had a quarterback and Aaron Rodgers go down with an Achilles in like the first 5 plays of the game. Just all of a sudden, if that team was relying on Aaron Rodgers and they had a couple good running backs, they're like, oh, my season's fucked if I can't find a quarterback. And maybe they didn't. Now that's a team where I go like, hey, would you move one of your running backs? Fuck yeah, man. You got a lot of wide receivers. Give me one of them. Like, I'll go to a safe asset. You take the running back and a little bit of risk. So a lot of stuff changes really early in the season. All those teams that had like Kyron Williams that they picked his ass up off of waivers or they drafted him in the 5th round a couple years ago and they held on to him. Heading into week 1, they didn't think like, oh, Kyron's going to be something for my team. And after week 1, they're like, oh, fuck, found money. I guess I didn't need to trade for this other running back that I acquired in May. So stay very fluid with the running back position. Treat them just like the NFL does. Like they cycle through these fucking guys like a bad whorehouse. Just next. Treat them the same way, man. Treat them the same way. Next. There's very few guys like in May where I'm very comfortable acquiring them. It's because I know even if something bad happens to them this year, their dynasty value next year is still going to be there, right? Like Jahmyr Gibbs is still going to have dynasty value in 2025. Bijan Robinson is still going to have it. He put Brooks on here. I think Brooks is already kind of baked in with the ACL where it's like even if this year is kind of a write-off, people will be really high on him heading into 2025. Even if you don't like him, it's like, oh, I can move this. But I mean, outside of these really young guys, like Christian McCaffrey's great, but I'm not paying Christian McCaffrey prices in fucking May, man. Bad shit can happen at any time. Just look at Rashee Rice. They make bad decisions. Bad shit happens to them. They get in a world of hurt, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, you're killing my fantasy team, buddy. So just keep that in mind. You don't got to build a starting lineup in May. I'm pretty sure somebody put that in the chat. Fantasy plumber. Nailed it. Nailed it. Don't build a don't worry about setting the lineup in May. Ever. Ever. There's a lot of time. We haven't even got to Memorial Day. It's like the official kickoff to summer. All right. Wife's looking forward to it. School ends real soon. Don't do it, Adam. I think you and I still got that PTSD from that year we both had teams that rostered ETN, Akers, and J.K. Dobbins, and we lost all three before week one.
Yeah,
even
my
fucking
Scott
happened.
Fishbowl.
Ooh.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Scott Fishbowl team.
It was over before we started. It was over in August before the games even happened. Yeah,
love it. I saw you started this one. So this from our buddy Matt Dennis. Big shout out to Matt Dennis too. Matt Dennis will be joining the South Harmon team. Him and Pat will be doing a podcast for us. So look for that in the next couple weeks. Going to be coming out. So welcome aboard, Matt. Officially official. So he's got a question for the panel. This time last year, when you were looking at the 24 class coming out, did you see it being this strong at wide receiver and quarterback? Jim, let's get your thoughts on this one first. Did you see it as strong?
On the quarterbacks, 100% no, not even close. No, saw a couple of them. That was it. Yeah, saw maybe two, and that was about it. In terms of receiver, for the most part, maybe not as deep, but yeah, I definitely saw some high-end talent coming out, so I was excited for that, but definitely swinging and missing the quarterback.
Adam, what about you?
Yeah, I think we were excited for the QBs. I would say there's no going into the draft. Most people didn't project 6 in round 1, right? So we were excited for Caleb. We were excited for May, but we weren't as excited for Jaden Daniels a year ago, right? Like a lot of this came up to the levels that it's at now later at quarterback, especially. I'm not going to say that it wasn't strong, but we didn't think it was going to be that strong with Caleb in the situation he's walking into and as deep as it is in first round picks, right? The wide receiver position, kind of similarly, but not as much. I think we all, for at least 2 years, have been like, okay, Marv is looking like he's possibly him. I think what's interesting about Marv to me is there's prospect fatigue, and also like why we're comparing last year's stats to 2 years ago and acting like one wasn't CJ Stroud and one wasn't a guy that nobody knows his name and he's absolutely terrible. Like, for him to produce nearly the same with absolutely horrendous quarterback play, I feel like is kind of lost last year. So I think we expected Marv to be great, but Malik Neighbors, while we expected him to be good, I don't think we expected him to be quite this elite. And Rome feels like for most people that were paying attention, they didn't realize and some of them don't even realize now that he's an elite prospect. So I think both of them they got more valuable as it went on. We saw him being strong at both, but not quite this strong, I would say, if I was to both of them. But quarterback was a little more surprising than receiver if I had to pick.
So where I was at this time last year, I had a good feeling there was 2 elite quarterback prospects, and there was a third I could project for round 1. Now I'm 66% because the third one ended up going back to fucking school, and he actually wasn't that good. So Quinn Ewers, R.I.P. Like that never fired. But then we got the surprise of Jaden Daniels. I did not have Penix as a first rounder at this time last year. It took what he did in the season for me to really hop aboard the Michael Penix train. Bo Nix, I saw some rumors of it, but I was like, even before the NFL draft, Jim, I still fucking hated him. Like I got the most Bo Nix shares probably out there of anybody in this fucking chat and room in my dynasty leagues, and I hate Bo Nix still to this day, but he's a starting quarterback in Superflex that I'm getting dirt cheap, so fuck it. Bo Nix, let's go. I'll rock your jersey. Wide receivers, Adam, we knew Marv was good. I knew Malik Neighbors was good. I knew Roma Dunze was good. Like, those three were solid locks. I thought wide receiver 4 was actually Emeka Buka. He went back to school, so you took that one out of the pool. Did not see the Brian Thomas Jr. rise. Xavier Worthy, I thought, was a first-rounder at this time last year just because of the early breakout and the speed that he put on tape. Ladd, no. It took Felix Sharp probably October or November of this year to convince me on Ladd. Keon Coleman, we didn't really know shit about playing at Michigan State. Even though we were Jaden Reed fans, we should have been looking at the guy who outproduced Jaden Reed, but we weren't. Until he went to Florida State, we really didn't know shit. So Troy Franklin, though, was up there. Like, Troy Franklin had the first-round buzz. Didn't actually happen for him. Ended up being a fourth-round pick. But I thought the wide receivers were very solid, and I thought we were very secure at the quarterbacks. I did see another question in the chat about 2025, and just so we put it out there for full transparency, I am shitting my pants about the 2025 quarterbacks. Like, I think Carson Beck is decent, probably the number one quarterback prospect in 2025, but that's more on the level of like Bo Nix when I say that. So let's just be full transparency. That's where we're starting next year. Shador Sanders has some intrigue, right, because of the name and he has a decent enough skill set, but there's still a lot of things to worry about. Quinn Ewers had a really shitty year. And then we'll see maybe if we get somebody else who kind of comes out of nowhere and rises and surprises you. But the one thing I do feel good about the 25 class, and this is, it's weird, Adam. The wide receivers are solid. I think there's a lot of Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy types, maybe a little bit better. I don't think any of them are Roma Dunze level at all.
Right. No.
Evan Stewart. I don't think any of those guys really meet that. They're solid. Like, they're going to be probably in that first round mix, but more like we saw in 2023, right? The back end kind of first guy. It's not the elite guys. But the one thing, it's very strange. The one thing I feel the best about is the fucking running backs. And right now in Dynasty, we hate running backs. So I don't know what to do about it.
Well, Mike,
the running back class is absolutely fucking loaded. It is loaded. But I'm like, oh my God, like, could this be any worse?
Right.
To what avail? Like, to what avail? Yes.
Yeah. Tell me something that matters. I mean, the thing about it is, I guess, Mike, I just didn't think last year, not that I didn't think Malik Neighbors was great and that so was Rome. I think most people, at least, including myself, didn't put Neighbors in Marv's tier a year ago. He might have been close. And then I don't think many people had Rome in Marv's tier a year ago. But it became a lot more consensus that even if they're not the same tier, they're damn near on Marv's heels, right? And that really boosted the strength. You put 3 receiver prospects in the same ilk that we're talking about Marv is in, which people would compare as close to what Chase was, even if it's a little behind, Mike, that's elite wide receiver talent at this class. So I don't think anyone saw it being quite this strong, although there was definitely people that, I mean, you knew it was good. You knew it was great, but I don't know to this degree.
I didn't think it was very promising. Let's just say that. Like,
yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
23 was kind of a letdown after the draft where, I mean, there was a lot of people like, oh, man, like we thought it was going to be so much better. It was the great running back class that was never promised.
Running backs values were coming down. And then outside of Gibbs and outside of Bijan, which, by the way, you could argue Bijan didn't even land in the greatest spot because they didn't even fucking use him after taking him at 8. I mean, but like Sharps, the second round guy goes, they just took Walker. It's like the landing spots also kind of sucked. Not to mention some of the guys we were hoping would go higher didn't go that high. So it just, the class kind of collapsed last year after landing spots. It felt like about like 108 type thing, 107.
I'm trying to think of all the running backs in this class. So listen,
25.
I just started Ohio State, right? Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson.
Both of them. I mean, it's crazy that Trev is. It's funny when you look back, Mike, right? Like Will Shipley in Debbie's C2C crowds was, maybe a CMC light, and he's now behind Barkley in the 3rd round. And it's like Travion Henderson was supposed to be him, and he's went back to school. Like, not that he's not a great prospect still. It's just like, man, the running back security of what you think when they're a freshman or sophomore is just so it could change on a whim.
Yes. So you got the 2 Ohio State guys. You also have 2 Penn State guys as well. It's weird that the first 4 that.
What do you think of Singleton?
Singleton has some issues, but the talent is definitely there. It is incredibly there. Like, he is. If I had to compare anybody to kind of like Trey Benson of this year for Jim, like that is Nick Singleton, where it's like, listen, I can make you a scenario where this could be one of the great running backs coming out. But there's like, find a hole. Please just find a fucking hole sometimes. Like, just clean 1 or 2 things up and you'll be amazing. But Katron Allen, his teammate, not to be slept on. Very, very good as well. Ollie Gordon, I'm a big fan of Ollie Gordon.
Dude, Oklahoma State. I've been really getting high on Ollie Gordon too, just to be let down probably, but I'm with you on that for sure.
The Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State is very, very intriguing. Now he's on the smaller side, so we'll kind of see how that works out at the end. I'm not such a size snob anymore, especially if he comes in and he tests. Just don't be Bucky Irving. That's all I ask. Just don't be that fucking slow and bad.
And then there's athlete. I mean, you got. What's crazy too, Mike? It's it's funny. The 24 running backs are like a lot of them went to 25. You got what's his name? Donovan Edwards, right?
Rocket Sanders.
Rocket. I was getting so hyped for Raheem Sanders 2 years ago, man.
Rocket Sanders. You want speed score? Rocket Sanders. You want speed score? And listen, there might be an Iowa guy in there. We'll see how Caleb Johnson does on the rebound. You know, maybe with a quarterback who can throw the fucking football. All right, I'm hoping.
We'll see. We'll see what. Maybe it's just a stick to tight ends, you know. But no, I'm rooting for him. We'll see. We will see.
Hey, the tight end class, I feel really good about. I like next year's tight end class more than I like this year's. And this had Brock Bowers.
This year is Brock Bowers, and then with
Nothing.
Sanders not going until round 4, and I like Benson out, but like
he's okay.
Yeah. This tight end class is dookie after Bowers, frankly.
Luke Lachey and Colston Loveland are fucking special. Now,
Agreed.
I'm not quite sold on. I saw Felix pose a question, and this is campus to Canton guys, man. Like they live and breathe this shit. They've been following these dudes since they were like 8th graders, I believe.
On who?
Luke Haas, the Arkansas tight end. Big fucking monster. Yeah. They really like him. So
really,
we'll see how that shakes out. But the tight end class, at least for me in my eyes, with Lachey and Loveland, is in very good hands. 2 guys I've actually watched on film. So
what do you think about Evans?
It's Notre Dame, man.
Cole Kmet?
Cole Kmet, you just watch Michael Mayer get buried in the draft. So T's and P's. Tyler Eifert, you excited about that one still?
Yikes.
Yeah. But yeah, 25 definitely can't really hold the jock to 2024. At least for dynasty purposes, where we're at as a market and what people value. We love quarterbacks and we love wide receivers and superflex, and we just had a running back question, and everybody kind of goes, "We're good." And 2025 is like, "You guys want running backs? No, fuck, we didn't order these. Send them back."
I'll make a bold claim. We are not going to see a rookie class value as far as where those guys go in startups, how people treat this late in the second round. We're not going to see it for a decade. I'll make a bold claim. There's no way. There's no chance.
This is why I said
this is a perfect storm. It's 6 quarterbacks and the top end wide receivers, and it's deep at receiver, and then you sprinkle in now the running backs that go to Benson and I'll call it 10 years, Mike. 10 years till we see this again, at least.
Ooh, 10 years. This is like what a 500-year flood.
You know what the best part is, Mike? If I lose, it's great because that means that we had a great dynasty class. That's the best part about it.
All right, now we're getting to the silly part of the show. Matt,
no.
It's a left nut and a right nut. No.
Matt's no longer part of the South Harmon team, unfortunately for him.
Jay's hitting it up. I think 23 running backs were supposed to be what 25 is projected to be.
Well, let's not though, because here's the thing: there's no Bijan and there's no Gibbs, and those two dudes are fucking the difference.
Yep.
Oh, I got this one. What's up, Andrea Styslowski? I hope I got that right, the last name right. I hope
Mike's been drinking, going straight into trying to pronounce stuff. Let's go.
Have the 111 pick. Should I draft a quarterback in a QB1 dynasty? My QBs are Stafford, Geno, Justin Fields. So I'm assuming QB1 dynasty, 1 QB dynasty. Would you draft a quarterback at the 111 in a 1 QB, Adam? You and I play in grand total of 0. Maybe Jim could help. Jim, do you play in any 1 QB leagues, or it's all super flex for dynasty?
Because some are industry, yes.
Industry kind of, 1 QBs.
Yeah, we're pushed into some of those. But you know what? Yes, because look, Stafford back issues, neck issues. Geno, he lost Waldron. And Waldron couldn't even lift up Geno the second year. And I'm very concerned. You get the college coach coming in. They never, ever, ever have success. Like Jimmy Johnson was like it. And then Justin Fields, obviously we'd like to see him in there, but we don't know that's going to happen. So, yeah, I would draft a quarterback because I don't know that your guys are going to be in good shape much into the season.
Yeah, I would say, Andrea, I'm with Jim. I would do it if it's Caleb or Jaden. I'm not probably doing it after that, though.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be that. I don't want fucking Michael Penix or Bo Nix. And J.J. McCarthy, I don't think does enough.
Even Drake May, Mike, I wouldn't do it just because I actually like a lot of his traits, and I think he could be a good quarterback. But there's a very realistic chance that in 1 quarterback, I'm waiting, and I'm not doing that. This isn't Superflex. Totally different.
In a 1 QB, I can replace like a J.J. McCarthy or Drake May production with a lot of dudes. Right? Like a lot of dudes. Like Superflex pushes those guys way up in one QB. Like, I'm looking for the guy who can be that real dynamic playmaker. Whether that is Caleb Williams with his great weapons and, potentially having a breakout CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert like rookie year, or Jane Daniels running for 800 yards as long as, like Jim says, the size and he learns to get out of bounds. Like, don't die.
Yes. I mean, look, I think there's things to like with Jaden, but there's no question. You'd be lying to yourself if you act like there's no red flags. Like, there's things he has to improve on, but he could do that. But there's concerns.
So if we take the quarterback side, like, what are you passing up in lieu of a quarterback in a 1 QB league? Like, I'm trying to do the
Mike, think about this though. This is where the super flex and why 24 is value. So think about at the 111. More often than not, there's definitely 4. Sometimes there's 5 quarterbacks off the board.
Yep.
So now you're at the 106 with players.
Yeah.
Mike, you're talking about you probably don't even get Brooks here. You may not even get Benson. Like, so you're talking about the next tier of receivers. You're talking about
Leggett, Pearsall,
the Pearsall, the Adonai, maybe, right? Like, that's what you're looking at.
I get you. Yeah, I think I might shoot my shot on quarterback there, especially if a Jaden or a Caleb was available. I think I'm good with that.
Yep.
I think I'm good with that. 1 quarterback. Timothy, thank you for that one. Omari in Hampton, North Carolina. Another good one. Another good running back in 2025.
Very much. Yep.
Matt's excited because he's got Ollie on a C2C league. Jim, do you play any C2C leagues at all?
Do not.
Do not? If you ever got interest in one, let me know, man. We'll get one fired up. It is like the next D-Gen level.
That's fabulous.
You like doing rookie drafts? How about doing freshman drafts, right? Like,
man,
hit you up 24/7 sports and figure out like who the best freshman coming in. Yeah, it's some real D-Gen stuff. I don't know if my portfolio will ever be all C2C leagues, though I love the format. It's Sleeper keeps fucking us by not adding college fantasy football. Even though I tag them every single day for the last 156 days straight, they still don't respond to me. Sleeper, what are you doing?
Hey, gents, I got to bounce out. Daughter's got to go to sleep.
All right, Jim.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on with us, buddy.
Appreciate your time.
Awesome.
Anytime. Where can the people catch you at, Jim?
Easiest place is the X Machine at Jim Coventry NFL. Always tell you what's going on out there, wherever the shows are, wherever the work's at. That's the place. Guys, awesome show. Keep the great work up. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for stopping by.
Right,
Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks.
Oh, Mike been to Russia. These pronunciations. What the fuck, Redwoods? You guys are terrible. Ollie's a beast. If it's in an Iowa tight end, Fantasy Plumber don't fucking care.
I hit it. Thank you, Fantasy Plumber. I'll tell you one thing. Fantasy Plumber is that GIF. This motherfucker don't miss. Today he's been on it, man. He has been on it.
What about this from Simon? Sell Swift and Najee for the 211 and a 26 first.
I'll tell you what, Mike. If I'm not competing, I'll definitely do this. But to be frank with you, it's probably still the right play. But 211, you're probably not even getting Corum back. And 26 first, I think I'd still probably do it. But Mike, I'll be honest. I think Swift's a quiet winner from the draft, frankly.
Yeah. That offense is going to be really, really good, man. Should have a lot of scoring opportunities.
And what happened with Chicago all last year? How many weeks were we on every single start sit? All right, Roshan's got to do something this week. No, he fucking didn't. He didn't do shit. He's dead. We'll see what Khalil Herbert. I could see Khalil Herbert getting dealt too, Mike.
You think so?
Yeah.
Where would be a spot? Like who would take him on? Do you think?
I just feel like it seems like there's some stuff where he doesn't seem happy because they don't give him the work.
That's fine. That's Zach Boy.
But you know what happens there is you know what you're gonna get back for Khalil? Nothing. Like it's just a move on from him.
Ooh, is Ayuk in too late first? Too much for CD. 12-team Superflex start 10. Yes. No,
now I'll say the late first if it's like if you know for sure or not. You can't say for sure, but if you know there's like a 90% chance too late first in 25. I mean, I understand it, but it's too much for me. Because I also have Ayuk very high in Dynasty. Like Ayuk is the part more so than the too late first. Like if you told me this receiver's further down the board, I'd be willing to go ahead and do this, but not with Ayuk in it. No.
We got a battle in the chat between the pun guy, Jay Jackson, and Redwards.
Yeah, Jay can't like guys getting in on his puns,
Matt Dennis says Herbert to Dallas. Yeah, just add another shitty running back to that room. Why not?
And there you go. Jerry might give Chicago something they'll never get from anyone else,
What the fuck, fantasy play? Why you got to do this? Don't you say that?
All right.
Don't you say
remember
that?
Remember what I said earlier? I take it back.
He's still begging.
No.
Challenge accepted. This is the last year of his rookie contract for Herbert. They should deal him for a fifth. Fuck. Deal him for a bag of peanuts at this point.
Yeah, he's worth nothing. 26 and 27 late first. Oh, that's actually a little more spicy. Can I tell you, 27 though, like when Sleeper finally makes them available, right? Because it's just by default, okay? The draft finishes and now 27 picks are available. Like when you start trading that 27 class or whatever that is 3 years out, when we just had the draft, that, while it will accrue value, that is so far away.
Yeah.
Brother,
Yeah.
We are a year away from 25, 2 from 26. This is like a full 3 calendar years away. And you're getting back what, if Fizzle was here, he'd say, GOAT, the best wide receiver in Dynasty,
All right. We got a name in here I haven't heard, and because I'm running the show, it's like obligatory that I get at least one 10-team fucking question in here.
Peter.
He asked it twice. 10-team Superflex, 1 point tight end premium. Start 10. He already has Herbie and Goff. Did he do too much getting May 107, Penix 207, and Rattler waivers for $15 in Fab?
No, I mean, well, first of all, I don't know what was there at 107. If May's there at 107, that means Rome was gone probably, right? Like it's
easily.
Now in 10 team, I would have been much more approach of taking Penix at 207 and letting May fall.
Yeah.
Like the problem here, Peter, is in 10 team and 12 team, like we talk about the thumbnail on quarterback hoarding. Quarterback hoarding in market difference in a 14 team, a 12 team, and a 10 team are, monumentally different. Like they're not even 10 team scarcity doesn't exist at all to the same degree. So it's harder to really hoard here. You'll end up having 3 or 4 good quarterbacks and not be able to trade.
Yeah. I don't think he did too much. I think the real question is, would you take a May or a Brian Thomas or a Xavier Worthy instead in a 10 team? And I think it's more fair to say that you might take the wide receiver.
No, I would take both those guys over May and 10 team, Mike.
Yeah.
Now, can I say this?
Penix at 207, though. I don't give a fuck if
Penix is 100% of value in Superflex.
And you got Rattler off waivers for Fab. Who gives a fuck there? Like, you're good.
If you only had Herbert or you only had Goff, okay, I could get on board with this May pick at 107. I think that's the main difference, though. In 10 team, it's like I'm drafting May to have somebody sit.
Yeah, more than likely. More than likely. I probably would have gone wide receiver there in a 10 team.
Listen, you learn. It changes.
I'm being nice. I'm talking about if I was in a 10-team league.
No. I'm saying, so yes, Peter, it does. If you just think about it like mathematically, in 10-team, everybody fills their quarterback. Like everybody has a roster completion at 20 quarterbacks.
And everybody has a third backup at 30, and there's still 2 guys extra floating.
And that still leaves now. While those guys are shitty, right? But like,
yes,
people in 10 team probably don't have a backup that they care about, right? And they're okay,
correct,
trotting some waiver wire fodder out there if they get hurt. So you can't play into the fact of the scarcity where it's 24 in a 12 team, right? To make everybody complete, and then all of a sudden to get up to 36, you're out of quarterback. So when injuries happen, it's wildly different.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck them 10-team leagues, Pete.
It's all right, Peter. That's why Mike doesn't like them. You know?
Fuck them. How about another one?
Quarterback hoard in 10-team. It doesn't
from Tyrone. 10-team Superflex. Start 9. Holy shit, the shallowest of the shallow.
Like I was on Trades in 5. I just got to tell you this. 1 quarterback, 8 teams, start 8. Legitimate question.
The Trades in 5 guys, like they are saints.
Bro,
saints.
I actually couldn't help myself. I said you got to get more friends and get a better league at the end. But
get
Mike, 8 teams, start 8, 1 QB. I mean, bro,
I got all kinds of friends for
Anyway.
12-team leagues. It's
Let's go.
patreon.com/South Harmon. There's a bunch of friends in there.
This is wildly shallow, but okay. AJ and Pitts for CD. Or look to have a better way to move Pitts, like pair him.
I would actually tear up for my boy. As Fizzle said, Doo-Doo Brown.
You would make it?
Yes.
You would go to CD?
Yes, just as shallow. Like, I think A.J. Brown is kind of disrespected. CD's on another fucking level, and they didn't address the running back spot outside of Ezekiel Elliott. I think Fizzle might be right. They're going to throw the ball like 8 billion times this year.
A.J. Brown.
You thought
the thing about A.J. Brown, he just got Doo-Doo Brown just got bagged.
He did
a
get
serious bag of doo-doo.
But you just watched CD Lamb get like 190 targets. This motherfucker might get 200 this year.
I'm not saying this is nothing. The AJ Brown that I'm saying is not having anything to do with CD. I'm not disrespecting the name of CD anymore, besmirching his name. We did that once, Mike, and he went off the very next that same day.
Yeah, I'm never again.
Now, my problem is AJ Brown. I just don't. In a 10 team, I get it. I just feel like the tier up here is. I'm fine, honestly, getting off of Pitts too. Like I'm okay with it. It just. I'm wondering, is this going to end up being that beneficial for you? Frankly, is my question.
Okay.
I'm not saying it couldn't be. It seems really steep because AJ Brown to me, even in a 10-team start 9, is arguably a top 5 option every week.
I think he was a little disrespected, and the end of the season didn't go as well as especially the beginning of the season start. But Adam, if I take a step back from my Eagles fandom, and I just look at Warp, I can almost guarantee in a 10-team start 9, CD Lamb is the fucking GOAT.
So I think, because I think to your point, it's good. I think in Warp, my thing is if I'm actually making this trade, Mike, it's probably hoping that Warp is better because I think there's a very good chance it's not all that much different. But I think the big thing is the market difference in CD and AJ Brown, frankly. Like there's CD Lamb and AJ Brown from a market standpoint are viewed very differently. So that's where I think I can understand it. You're getting younger and you have a Warp potential. And you have a guy that right now has jumped into a tier that no one believed could be jumped into. People basically were saying for 2 years that it's just chasing Jefferson and no one else can get in there.
Right. I say do it. Fuck it.
I'm cool with it because in 10-team, Mike, you already still have McBride. And I would say tight ends probably don't matter here. But in a 10-team start 9, I probably want to choose tight end anyway because it's such a shallow format. So the fact that you have McBride, I'm cool. Get off of Pitts.
Right.
It's just it's steep though.
Last 2 questions. I ain't doing any more fucking 10-team. How about a 14-team? Superflex start 11.
Let's go wild.
1.5 tight end premium startup is on Saturday. Slow draft. He has the 110 spot. Drafting with redraft minded people. 3rd round reversal. Do I stay for value or move to 101, 105, or 112? Got these offers 1 for 1. What the fuck?
So, do I stay for value or move to 101, 105, 112? All right. Is there a second part?
So maybe I'm assuming that it's like a derby. You pick your draft slot. I've done this in the past where like the guy didn't really like his draft swap, so we swapped every fucking pick in the draft.
Yeah. Swap slots.
Yeah, move slots.
14 team, I'd be willing to move up to 101 or even 105.
Yeah, even the 3rd round reversal.
Yeah, because the difference in. Like 105 is almost guaranteed to still be Jalen Hurts. That's how much people don't like him right now. So
yeah,
the difference in Hurts and Mahomes versus 110, you're talking like that could be Herbert. It's massively different for me. It's worth it.
Yeah, I get it. I think I would definitely move up to 101. If not, listen, if they're all redraft guys, like this kind of what he's talking about, there might be some idiots in 14 team who take wide receivers instead of quarterbacks. Not knowing. So I'd be pretty comfortable moving back to the 112 knowing like I might still get a quarterback here with these idiots. Like I might hammer 2 quarterbacks, easily at the 112 and what would that be? 1402.
But I think that's one of the beauty things about to your point, I agree with you. You definitely could end up getting 2 top
202 turn. Yeah.
But like if you get the 105, let's say, right? And let's say I end up getting Jalen Hurts and then that type of quarterback stuff starts happening. All of a sudden, Mike, at the whatever that would be, gosh, I can't math right now, but mid to late part of the second, you might be looking at an AJ Brown. All of a sudden, that's a really good stack. Or even in the 3rd, you get AJ Brown because the values could fall so far.
Listen. My first personal preference would be like if the guy at the 101 just wants to swap all the draft slots, then perfect.
Agreed. I would agree.
Listen, I take fucking Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or whoever your flavor is there at the top, easily, and then I let them fuck up for 2 rounds all the way back to me. Like, please let me fall into another fucking like top 15 option at quarterback in a 14-team superflex. Please fuck this up. But if that's not really available, I don't hate the 112 part. Like, I don't hate going back there. I really don't.
No, I'm with you. I think actually, Mike, to be honest, I would trade to the 101. I would trade to the 105. But if you stay there, I think there's a chance you end up getting 2 quarterbacks. Or if you don't, you're going to get a back-end quarterback 1 with a very high-end wide receiver asset too. So I'm okay anywhere.
Andrea's got another question. Superflex Dynasty has the 102 and 107. Should I draft quarterback first or wide receiver? Adam, I feel like you and I will differ.
We probably disagree here. That's okay.
We will disagree. I say take Jaden Daniels. Adam, you would say take Marvin Harrison.
Well, because I think the way the question's answering, to me, it's like I'm going to take one of each. The receiver difference at 107 is wild different. 107 is the perfect spot, Mike, for me to still get a QB that I feel very good about. I can get one of Drake May, J.J. McCarthy likely there. That's the difference for me.
I'm taking Jane Daniels at 102, and then I'm taking Drake May or J.J. McCarthy at 107. Taking both quarterbacks.
If Marvin's there at 102, I'm taking Marvin, and then I'm going to take the best available QB at 107. Personally.
There you go. Take both quarterbacks away, Andrea. Listen to the good side.
There you go.
The dark side.
It would be that, because that's where your team's going to be. Very dark for a while. It's going to be in the gutter.
All right. Last one. Steve. We'll throw Steve in here. Have the 109 this year, voting to go Superflex in 2026. Finally, Steve. Finally. Is quarterback at 109 this year a smart move? Have Kyler and Stafford. So he's 2 years out from going Superflex. Would you take a quarterback at 109 and be ahead of the curve, or say fuck it?
2025, I think I would. 2026, I don't think I'm doing it. No.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass because it's 2 years out.
Yep. No, I'm not doing this. No way.
Nope.
25, Mike, would you do 25? I would have a conversation. I'm not even sure I would, but I would have a conversation.
25, I would, because I feel comfortable with whatever quarterback you get there definitely still having a job in 2025 being this time.
The reason I say it would be a conversation is I also feel like I would need to know who's there. Like how super flex is this draft going to go? Like if at 109 I'm getting one of Daniels, Caleb, or May, like there's no way I'm letting that slide, knowing it's super flex next year, right? But I mean, I don't know how crazy the draft's going to be. 26 is way too far. I'm not doing this. I'm not going the one QB thing for this year and next year. No.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think that's a pass. I think that's a pass for me, Steve. Take the best one.
26 pick, Steve, is a great call. That's what I'm doing. Let me quarterback hoard with the whole 26 class, buddy. You know?
Oh, I forgot how good this outro song goes, too, man. Fucking Jack. I feel like Kendrick Lamar, like I could write a diss track. By the way, Friday night, you guys like live stream? We're going to run it back. Except for it's going to be Fizzle Show. Fizzle Fridays debuting this Friday night. And listen, the Kendrick Lamar, the Drake beef, that's going to be a top story. But we're also going to talk fantasy stuff. So if you got some more questions, you got some spillovers, you didn't get answered tonight, Friday night, get to run it back. Me and Fizz will be doing that one. Eventually, Fizz will be doing it on his own, having some guests all over the space. You know how Fizz does it. Good shit. We got a lot of good stuff going on. By the way, go check out our sponsors. Sign shit. Signed sh.it. Go get you some cool stuff. And for everybody who won anything on the draft stream, my ass has been a piece of shit, and I will get those out to you real soon. Don't worry, I got a spreadsheet. I just got to take my ass down to the post office, which I fucking
To be
hate.
fair, it's also the logo of South Harmon, a piece of shit. So
It is. It's a piece of shit. It's a piece of shit. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for the good one. Jim, if you watch this back, again, can't thank you
Appreciate
enough for
you,
hopping
man.
on. Go follow Jim. Go follow Jim and everything.
I let
that
Jim
he's
talking some real ball here, right?
doing. Jim
Duo?
fucking duo power. Fucking Jim Coventry. One of the best.
Fantastic.
Shout out to everybody over at Rotorwire. You know, we've had a good time with Jim. We had a great time every time we have Alan on. It's fantastic. So I really love the vibes they got going on over there. That's going to do it for us. Adam, tell the people goodbye.
Love y'all.
Shut the fuck
Peace.
up, Redwoods.
Boom. Look at this.